So I'm back. I did my first YouTube video for my channel. Just a little bit about me, the fact that I am an American living in Vienna, Austria. A little bit about how I ended up here, and maybe I'll create more videos about that at another time. But so this video is specifically about trying to conceive and how I got to the point of, and us, I mean, my husband too, about trying to conceive. So, I have been married to my husband for a little over a year and a half now. And it was about a year ago, when we had been married for a little bit over half a year, that we ended up just starting to talk about kids. I mean, no matter what, when you're with someone with the intentions of marrying them, you talk about whether or not you want kids. And for him, he said he definitely wanted kids. And for me, I did too, I thought. But, I think until you're in the relationship that you want to be in to have kids, or at least specifically for me, I couldn't really make that decision of like, yes, I definitely need and want to have children. There are some people that they know that one of their goals in life, or their kind of like driving missions in life, is to have children. They know it. My sister was a little bit more like this, where it was like, I will definitely have children. And as soon as like you get into your 20s, you're like, when am I having children? But for me, it wasn't so much like that. Like I said in my first video, I was married for the first time when I was 22 and divorced at 26. So in that relationship, I always felt young, and kids. I knew I wanted kids, or I thought I wanted kids, but it was never right in that situation. Maybe I also talk about that in a video some other time. But coming into this relationship and this marriage, I thought I wanted kids, but it became more serious as that relationship developed and as we got married, because I thought I wanted kids. I have a really close relationship with my mom. I have a close relationship with my sisters, and I think I have a very strong maternal instinct. And for me now, kind of looking at my situation, I don't think for me life would be kind of as complete without being a mother and having children. And that's, just one of the things that I feel strongly about now. But so about a year ago, we were on a vacation to a spa, which is really common here in Austria. I'm still getting used to it. And we just, had this really nice moment where we were talking about children, and my husband had said, yeah, how about, once we've been married for 2 years, and maybe he said, like fall 2018, like with this like really decisive tone, like almost like someone who can like see into the future, like it will be fall of 2018. And for me, this was a little bit funny, but also really exciting and happy, because it's always just really nice, especially when like the man in the relationship wants children and like has a thought or a decisive thought about it. And so for me, I said, yeah, for me, let's see what happens. We're completely not ready at that time, because we were still newly married. I was still, new to the country. I'd just gotten my first job in Austria. So it just like it wasn't the time then. And so I said, yeah, let's think about it on our 2-year anniversary, which is in July. It's this upcoming July in 2018. Our marriage anniversary, and let's see then, So then, I mean, as soon as we started talking about it, then I started to think about it more, but it still was just like in the future, because, I think my husband and I, we didn't know each other so long before we got married, so just like, about a year. So I think it was important for me that, I feel really comfortable in that relationship, and, really safe, and, and just kind of like go through some of those, like not turbulent, but kind of turbulent times at the beginning of a marriage where, you're both experiencing it for the first time. And we also, hadn't been living together for so long. So I think you really have to get used to that as well. And so we had to like just go through those normal things at the beginning of a marriage that are important. And, each time we'd go through like a trial or tribulation, or get to the other side of it, or just like have like, better conversations and, better talks, and get to know each other more and more and more, then the idea of children becomes more and more comfortable. So then I was coming around to it, obviously. But then so this fall, I have obviously a gynecologist here, and it was coming up to the point where I needed to make another appointment. And I called the gynecologist, and of course, there was an extremely long waiting time period. I always think it's pretty funny that, or just like ironic in a funny way, that, I mean, everyone's just waiting in line to get to the gynecologist. Like, it's just like this fantastic thing that you want to go see, like a sale or a, premiering movie. You're like, I gotta get to the gynecologist. Everyone get out of my way. But there's always a super long wait. There's a wait to get an appointment. So there's a wait at the doctor's office. So I just kind of like jumped in line, and I thought maybe that it would be like a 2-month wait, but it ended up being like a 3 or 4 month wait. And because of this wait and window, then that meant that my birth control was actually my prescription was going to run out while I waited for the appointment. Not by long, just like 20 days or something like this. But it's just something I like kept in my mind at the time. And I guess like my past with birth control is that I was on the pill since I was 18 and just like on it consistently just for years and years and years. And then about 2.5 years ago, in the summer of 2015, I lost my period. Like, it just went away. And I went to my gynecologist, and she like ran all the tests for my hormones and all the things, and basically just came to the conclusion that maybe I was on the same birth control for so long that my body just got confused. I don't know. So I went off of birth control for about 4 months. That was actually when I moved to Vienna. And I got it back, and I don't know if it helped because I was also like an amount of stress definitely got lifted off of me. If you see in my first video, I decided to go on this life adventure, and part of the reason was like a very stressful job situation that I was really not happy at anymore. And so I don't know if that helped or if stress had a role in it, but it was only this 4-month window, and then I met my current husband. So then I had to go back on it just for the reasons that you have to. So then I was then on it for 2 years. And so then I guess back to this fall, I knew that I was going to run out. And so in December, I was actually on a vacation with some friends and my husband in Spain, and my birth control ran out. And I mentioned it to my husband, kind of talked about the intention of getting another refill, but then also kind of saying like, yeah, and, just food for thought. It might take my body a long time to get off of it and then get back on it and then get back off of it again. And if we're thinking about kids in the summer, it doesn't make so much sense. And then when I went to my actual gynecologist appointment, she said the same thing. So basically she said, hey, for healthy couples, it can take up to a year to be on get pregnant in general. And that's not even like thinking about the fact of coming off of birth control and having your hormones even out and potentially losing your period for a period of time. No pun intended. So she suggested that I don't go back on birth control. She, of course, gave me the prescription if I wanted to use it. So then I just went back and told my husband the same thing. And I think for him, it took a little bit of coming around to in his mind, because for women who haven't tried to conceive or don't have friends that tried to conceive, I don't think you really have a thought about how difficult it can be to get pregnant, even if you're completely healthy. And so, but I have friends and family who have tried to have kids, and, just all the things that it takes sometimes a while. There could be things wrong with you that you don't know until you try to conceive. So it could be things wrong with your hormones. It could be nothing wrong with your hormones, and it still just takes a while. And also too, which is something that I didn't really think about until my friends were trying to have kids, but that it's very common that when you're trying to have kids for the first time, you're trying to conceive, that you have a miscarriage, or several, or none, I guess. But almost all of my friends and family that have tried to get pregnant recently have experienced early term miscarriages. And this is definitely a scary fact, because there's not only does that mean it takes longer, but there's also an emotional component to that. So just like kind of gearing yourself up to potentially be ready for that if you can get yourself ready for it. So for me, I have become more and more aware of the process of trying to conceive. But for a man, he's a little bit more like how I was before I was thinking about kids. And you basically think like, hey, as soon as it's go time, as soon as you're just not on any kind of birth control anymore, you're going to get pregnant right away. And so I think in his mind, he said, yeah, fall 2018, that was a time to touch my nose. Fall 2018, we're just going to try to get kids and it'll happen right away. And then for me, I'm thinking, okay, you said summer or fall 2018, maybe we should, maybe I should just start doing the things to try to get ready for that by getting off of birth control now. So I held my prescription for birth control. We talked it over a lot, and then we kind of just decided in the end that, green light now, and when it happens, it happens. And, I think we'll both be pretty excited if it happens sooner rather than later. But where we are right now is that I stopped birth control at the end of December, and I haven't had a period since. So, like all the trying to conceive videos that I have already watched and that you're watching now. This is like the TMI part, of course, because everything has to do with like your cycle and your body and your anatomy. So here we go. I haven't had a period. So your cycle starts, like cycle day 1 is the first day of your period, and the last day of your cycle is, right before you get your period again for the next cycle. And so I am on cycle day 79. So I really even don't even, it's hard for me to consider this a cycle too, because like the period or like bleeding you get after you go off of birth control isn't really necessarily even considered a period, because it's just based on the hormones that you've been feeding yourself. And so now I'm off of hormones and like just seeing how things go. And I mean, I guess in general, just not having a period is kind of a stressful thing, and it doesn't make you feel so good. On top of that, when you want to try to conceive, it doesn't feel so good to not have your period, because then you feel like, yeah, I'm ready to try to conceive, but you're not going to conceive because you don't have your period, or at least you don't think you will, because so everything I've read is that like in this period of like, in this time frame of getting my period back, I could ovulate and like have a cycle. I could ovulate and then get my period, and then it's, cycles and everything, but you don't know. And so one thing I've done is started taking ovulation tests, and those have been really confusing for me so far, because I think that the ones I had were too sensitive, because they were giving me, I believe, like false positives. So I've gotten a less sensitive version, but it's just like women that are trying to conceive and have their periods and know their cycles and know their bodies, it's just like they're in like a whole nother world for me, because for me, I don't remember how my period was when I was 18. I have no idea off of birth control what my cycle is like, because I didn't care about these things when I was 18. I didn't care to like put them in my memory or even notice them, because this just wasn't important when you're 18 or 17 or 16 or 15. And so now I just don't know. And if I knew about my cycle, if I was having real cycles, then I would really feel like, sometimes these videos, it's like trying to conceive cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3, and I feel like I'm just like trying to conceive cycle -1 or like cycle 0, because I'm just like waiting to get it. So that's a little stressful. And I feel like it's been a little bit hard to get like information about this circumstance of going off birth control and trying to conceive. I think maybe some people are a little bit smarter and they do it before they're trying to conceive. And now it's just like a little stressful. So that's where I am right now, is that I am just waiting for my period to come back. And again, it's like a bit of an uncertain time, and I don't know if it's possible right now. I took these tests. I'm trying to get to know my body and like think if I, feel like if I'm ovulating, or like use the like telling signs. I got a period tracker, a fertility tracker called Ovia, and I really like this one because it's really user friendly. So I had another one, and it just like wasn't as user friendly, and all the terminology and everything, what they were making you put in every day. If you're a beginner, it's not so straightforward, but this one's super nice. So like it starts off by just saying like, what's your mood? And so it has like a green and an orange and a red section, and then like green section's like positive, happy, motivated, and then the orange is just like, I don't even know what's an orange, because usually I'm just like red or green. But then red's like blah, or crabby, or angry, or sad, or depressed, or strange, And so it starts with your mood, and then it goes into like whether or not you baby dance, whatever you want to call it, whether or not you got down, whether or not you took an ovulation test, whether or not you got a pregnancy test, putting in your results, and then like all these like really detailed cycle tracking things. So you can put in like whether or not your cervix is high or low. I still haven't figured out this yet, whether it's open or closed. Still haven't poked around in there yet. Your temperature, what medications you took, what exercise you did, what you ate, and like all these things affect your tracking of your cycle. And so I've just gotten used to it so far. I like it. And then, you know, once my period does come back and I'm tracking more things, like potentially my temperature and all these things, I'll have like a method to do that. But either way, it's just really good because then I can remember like when I started certain supplements or vitamins, and yeah, I just really like it so far. So that's the first step. And you know, trying to mess around with these OPKs and these ovulation tests, and they're not so telling yet. But I mean, I think it's probably more my fault than their fault because I'm just a mess on day 79 of my cycle. So I'm gonna do another video about what I'm taking right now as far as like medications and supplements. And you can watch that as well if you're curious or if you're going through the same thing. So if you're going through the same thing and you don't have your period back and you stopped birth control, you're not alone. I feel you. It sucks. It's stressful. It's confusing. It's hormonally unbalanced, which is also never good because your emotions are a little bit like this, cramping, you don't know why. So just, you're not alone, and I hope it's helpful, and I'll keep looking at other people's videos to get information, so hopefully mine is too helpful to get information. So I will see you again.